So right now, your brain is basically treating your daily health routine exactly like your computer treats having 100 browser tabs open at the exact same time.
Oh yeah, it is actively preparing to crash.
Exactly. I mean, we tell ourselves we just need a little more willpower, right? Like,
Okay.
if we just pushed harder, we could stick to the intricate meal prep or the aggressive gym schedule or, those crazy color-coded pill organizers.
Right, but what if willpower isn't the actual problem here? What if the tools themselves are just fundamentally broken?
And that completely reframes the guilt so many working professionals carry around every single day. I mean, the underlying assumption is always that we are failing the routine.
We rarely stop to consider the biological and psychological reality, which is that the routine is failing us. Because it was never actually designed for the high-stress, high-velocity modern life you are living.
That is the core mission for our deep dives today. We're looking at this fascinating guide focused on a specific wellness product called Moringa Magic.
Which is derived from a plant known as Moringa oleifera.
Right, you'll often hear it referred to as the miracle tree. And we're going to extract the truth from this research to figure out if simplifying our health routines is the actual biological secret to finally sticking to them.
Because the documentation we are looking at calls us out completely on our modern habits.
Oh, it really does.
I mean, it paints a picture of a typical Tuesday, skipping breakfast, grabbing highly processed foods just because they are within arm's reach, sitting frozen at a desk for excruciatingly long hours.
And then dealing with fragmented sleep because your brain just refuses to shut down.
Exactly. And the research draws a direct, unavoidable line from those specific survival behaviors to the physical symptoms we've somehow been conditioned to accept.
Like it's just a normal part of aging or working a corporate job.
Right. It links those daily compromises directly to poor digestion, consistently low energy, heavily reduced focus, and systemic fatigue.
The premise here is really critical, though. The problem is absolutely not a lack of awareness. I mean, you already know what a vegetable is.
Yeah, you should move your body.
Exactly. The actual failure point is the lack of simple, sustainable solutions that don't demand an extra 2 hours of your day. I always thought I just lacked discipline when I abandoned a new vitamin regimen after like 3 weeks.
A lot of people do. But looking at the data on how current health advice is structured, well, it demands a level of flawless execution that a stressed professional simply cannot provide.
Yeah, the documentation is pretty brutal about the trap of the perfect health routine, particularly when it comes to synthetic supplements.
It highlights the sheer mental burden of trying to remember half a dozen different pills.
And it points out the hidden artificial ingredients, the binders and fillers in those pills, and frankly, the sheer expense of trying to maintain these complicated routines over a lifetime.
Which brings up a foundational concept in behavioral psychology known as cognitive load.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the text says people start with motivation, but quickly fall off.
Well, if you look at your baseline state as a busy professional, you are already operating at maximum cognitive capacity. You are navigating high-stakes decisions, managing relationships, and dealing with environmental stressors.
Meaning your internal browser is already using 99% of its memory just to navigate a standard workday.
Exactly. There is literally no processing power left for a complicated health regimen.
So adding a demanding routine is just too much.
Right. Like tracking multiple synthetic pills, timing them perfectly around meals, and managing the mild nausea from artificial ingredients, you aren't just adding a healthy habit.
You're adding stress.
Biologically and mentally, you are adding another layer of acute stress. You are giving another chore to an already exhausted central nervous system.
Wow, yeah.
Human nature dictates that when our cognitive load exceeds our capacity, we reflexively drop the non-essential tasks just to survive.
And that mechanism guarantees the gym plans get skipped and the intricate supplement protocols get completely forgotten.
Precisely. If complexity is the enemy of consistency, then the only way to win is to bypass the complex systems entirely.
Which is why I was so struck by the alternative presented in our research today. Relying on a single, historically proven plant.
Moringa oleifera has been utilized for centuries in traditional wellness practices.
Yeah, and the nutritional profile documented here is just staggering for one single source. It naturally produces high levels of vitamins A, C, and E.
It contains essential minerals like calcium, potassium, and iron.
Right. It even provides a broad spectrum of antioxidants and plant-based protein. It's like...
It acts as a remarkably dense nutritional matrix.
But here is where I kind of hit a wall with traditional health advice.
Yeah.
I always assumed checking the box was enough. Like, if the label on a plastic pharmacy bottle says 100% vitamin C, I'm good.
That's the trap of synthetic supplements.
Right. So what is actually happening nutritionally that makes a plant-based option like this superior to a handful of synthetic pharmacy vitamins?
Well, it matters entirely because of a biological mechanism called bioavailability.
Bioavailability.
Okay. In a lab environment, chemists isolate single compounds. They extract just the ascorbic acid, call it vitamin C, and press it into a pill.
Makes sense on paper.
But nature does not create isolated compounds. In a whole food like moringa, vitamins and minerals come packaged with hundreds of natural cofactors.
Like enzymes and bioflavonoids.
Exactly, and specific fibers.
So the lab pill is basically just an incomplete piece of the puzzle.
Think of a cellular receptor in your body like a locked door. The isolated synthetic vitamin is just the metal key.
Okay, I'm following.
Sometimes it fits, but often it just scratches at the lock and gets flushed out of your system, which really just creates very expensive urine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But whole food nutrition, where the nutrients are bound together as they naturally grew, provides the key, the person to turn the key, and the hand to push the door open. Your body inherently recognizes the complete structure.
That explains why I can take a massive dose of a cheap pharmacy multivitamin and still feel completely exhausted. My cells aren't actually absorbing it.
They cannot absorb it efficiently without those natural cofactors. Furthermore, synthetic vitamins are heavily reliant on artificial binders, fillers, and synthetic coatings just to keep their shape in the bottle.
When you swallow that, your liver and your digestive tract have to work overtime just to separate the tiny fraction of useful vitamins from the synthetic glue holding it together.
You are demanding more metabolic energy from a system that is already depleted. With a whole food source like moringa, you get maximum nutritional absorption with zero biological strain.
This highlights something mind-blowing about our modern diets that the research hints at. We are living in a time where we are heavily calorie-rich, but completely nutrient-starved.
Because of modern, high-yield farming practices and soil depletion, the produce we buy at the grocery store today has a fraction of the minerals it had 50 years ago.
You would have to eat an entire bag of spinach to get the same iron your grandparents got from a small handful.
That phenomenon is exactly why dense, robust plants like moringa are becoming biological necessities rather than just trendy superfoods.
Because it's resilient.
Yes, moringa thrives in harsh environments by sending deep taproots far into the earth, pulling up a dense concentration of minerals that shallow-rooted, mass-produced agricultural crops simply cannot reach.
So when you consume it, you are finally giving your body the raw materials it has been desperately searching for in all those processed desk lunches.
Which brings us to the actual physiological impact. The documentation outlines 5 specific benefits of Moringa Magic.
But instead of just listing them out, we need to look at how they trigger a biological domino effect in the body, starting with the very foundation of your health, your digestion, and your heart.
The gastrointestinal tract is often referred to as the second brain for a reason. Earlier, we established that irregular eating, processed foods, and high stress are the hallmarks of a busy professional's life.
All right.
When you are under chronic stress, your autonomic nervous system shifts into a sympathetic state, essentially fight or flight.
And in that state, blood flow is literally diverted away from your digestive organs and sent to your muscles.
Meaning that turkey sandwich you ate at your desk while stressing over an email isn't even being digested properly.
It just sits there.
It sits there. It ferments. It causes systemic inflammation, which breaches the gut lining and enters the bloodstream, putting immediate chronic strain on your cardiovascular system.
Wow. Your heart has to work harder to pump blood through an inflamed system.
Exactly. The documentation positions moringa as a systemic intervention here. Because it is a whole food, anti-inflammatory powerhouse packed with natural fiber and bioavailable nutrients, it actively soothes the gut lining.
It helps balance the gut microbiome,
Which is the absolute prerequisite for both digestive comfort and long-term heart health.
If you fix the engine room, the rest of the ship runs better.
A great way to phrase it.
And that digestive reset is the direct biological mechanism behind the next massive benefit: daily energy and focus.
The text notes that moringa provides sustained vitality without the inevitable crash of caffeine or sugar.
It's the difference between throwing lighter fluid on a fire versus a dense oak log.
That's a brilliant way to visualize metabolic pathways.
Well, caffeine is the lighter fluid. You get this massive, blinding flame for about 20 minutes, your heart races, and then the fuel is instantly gone.
And you are left freezing, exhausted, and reaching for another cup of coffee at 2 p.m.
Exactly.
When you rely on simple sugars or stimulants, you trigger a violent spike in blood glucose and adrenaline. Your pancreas panics, dumps insulin to clear the sugar, and your blood sugar plummets below baseline.
So that crash is completely physiological.
Yes. But the whole food nutrients in moringa act exactly like that dense oak log. The natural fibers slow down the digestive process, allowing a steady, metered release of complex carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals into your bloodstream over several hours.
Which means your brain finally has a stable fuel supply. I mean, you can't have sharp executive-level focus in a meeting if your neurons are screaming for glucose because of a caffeine crash.
The gut-brain axis is real. If your gut is absorbing dense, stable nutrients, your brain can perform the high-level decision-making required for your job.
Poor focus and bad digestion really aren't isolated issues.
They are biologically inseparable. You cannot medicate your way out of a foundational nutrient deficit. By delivering these essential, recognizable nutrients in one simple step, you aren't just treating a symptom like brain fog or fatigue.
You are fundamentally resetting the body's baseline operational capacity.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the final and, frankly, the most important benefit outlined in the research. None of this brilliant biology matters if the protocol requires 45 minutes of prep work in the kitchen.
Absolutely. The fifth core advantage of this approach is pure simplicity.
The product is designed to be effortlessly easy to stick with. We are moving from the theoretical magic of bioavailability to the cold, hard reality of your Tuesday morning schedule.
The creators of Moringa Magic clearly understand the behavioral psychology we discussed earlier regarding cognitive load. They have designed a low-friction protocol specifically for individuals operating at maximum capacity.
The routine outlined in the guide is almost shockingly minimal. It breaks it down into natural touch points that require zero lifestyle overhaul.
Right. In the morning, you simply incorporate it into whatever you are already doing. Stir it into water or a shake before you run out the door.
Midday, instead of walking to the break room for a third coffee, you use it as a rapid wellness boost to prevent that 2 p.m. cognitive dip.
And in the evening, it acts as a gentle, restorative nutrient delivery while you wind down. Notice what is absent from that protocol.
There is no calorie counting.
There is no timing your macronutrients. There is no complex cycling of synthetic pills. It slides seamlessly into the behavioral grooves you have already carved into your daily life.
There's a specific quote from the source material that feels like the entire thesis of this deep dive. For anyone listening, it says, "It's not about replacing your lifestyle. It's about enhancing it with minimal effort."
That philosophy translates to a three-word mantra that applies to nearly every aspect of human optimization. Consistency beats complexity.
Consistency beats complexity. The graveyard of our past health routines is entirely populated by highly complex plans we tried to execute perfectly.
We tell ourselves that if a health plan isn't hard, it must not be working. We've been brainwashed into thinking suffering is a prerequisite for wellness.
Which is a tragic misunderstanding of human physiology. Your body actually craves routine and simplicity. The goal of genuine health optimization is never perfection.
Perfection is fragile. The moment one variable goes wrong, a meeting runs late, you miss a meal prep window, the entire perfect system shatters and you quit.
Right.
The goal is doing something effective consistently day after day, week after week. Because it requires zero extra time and no intense planning, this whole food approach builds an indestructible habit.
It is an incredible relief to look at the science and realize you do not need a flawless, color-coded calendar to stay healthy. You just need a practical, biologically sound tool. So to bring this all together for you listening, if you are the person we described at the start of this deep dive, if you are balancing endless deadlines, if you have absolutely no time to micromanage your meals, and if you spend your days riding a roller coaster of caffeine spikes and debilitating crashes,
The text suggests you don't need a perfect routine, you need a practical one.
Moringa Magic offers a natural, scientifically validated, plant-based way to bypass the overwhelming artificial trap of synthetic supplements. You get the bioavailability of a natural superplant without the cognitive load of a complex routine.
The research makes an airtight case that in our biological health, consistency absolutely beats complexity. But I want to leave you with a final, overarching question to ponder today, something that extends this philosophy beyond just your diet.
Okay, what is it?
If simplifying your wellness routine is the true, scientifically proven key to actually maintaining it, What other complicated areas of your busy life are you actively failing at simply because you were trying to be perfect instead of just being consistent? Could this Moringa mindset of effortless consistency be the secret to managing your workload too?
Wow. Think about all those browser tabs you still have open in your brain.
Yeah.
Maybe it is time to forcefully close the ones demanding perfection in your career, your relationships, or your personal goals. Find the lowest friction path to consistency and just leave open the one tab that quietly, effortlessly gets the job done.